Sorry about that, guys. My internet connection gave out. Hopefully we can get Fletch back on. And when he has time, he'll come talk about the pre-98. But I'll wait a minute till people get back in. Fucking stupid thing fucked up. Ah, Instagram, you suck. You suck cock. So, yeah. No. Yeah. It sucks. Bakersfield internet sucks ass. So, hopefully we get Archive back, and he could talk about the pre-98, because he's a fucking wealth of info when it comes to Bubba's and OGs. A wealth of info for a lot of strains. A lot of the important strains in history, and yeah. And if anybody starts trolling Fletcher, I'll boot you right the fuck away. I don't want to deal with that. Root Brothers, Pure Thai Face-Off Root Beer. The root beer is really good. Root beer is really good. Comment on autoflower genetics real quick. They're useful for people learning to breed, because you can see so many generations really fast. Maybe apartment growers, but I'm not a big grower of autoflowers. H2O, I'm waiting for Fletcher, Archive Seeds, to join in, and he can comment on the pre-98, because he's, I want to make sure everything that gets said about it is accurate. Green Crack, yes, that's in the Appalachia. Why would someone troll, dude? My whole career, I've been one of the biggest trolled people ever. You're going to pop any of Skunk Tech's gear, without a doubt. Me and Skunk Tech are doing a lot together, so keep watching. Fletcher did not do Green Crack. Fletcher did Dosey Dose. And many other strains. Moonbow, he's done great work with the Faith. There's so many. I have a stand I bought to hold the phone up, but other than that, you're just going to be fucking, your arm's going to be tired if you don't have one of these things. One Eye, what's up, brother? I always get questions about Dog Walker. I'm going to have you come on with me at one point. We could talk about your dog walker, because I think that's the one people want to know about. My dog walker didn't even sell that well, so I think most people are referring to your dog walker, which I feel is superior to mine. Whenever you're ready, Fletch. The Real Deal Face-Off story. Again, Fletcher's a guy for that. He was there. You still have any Silver Pearl? I have Silver Pearl weed. Bryn's the only one smoking it right now. So, Crack Walker. Crack Walker's great. I love it. But a lot of people were buying Dog Walker, wanted more Chem Dog type phenos, and I used West Coast Dog, which is not even a Chem Dog, you know. So, yeah. You want the GMO root beer, but there's some, there's the root beer granola funk. That one's my favorite. I haven't tried the root beer GMO, but the root beer granola funk is one of my favorite things I've been smoking lately. But when people talk about Dog Walker OG, that guy right there, When I Wreck, that's the man behind the magic. Much respect to my brother. Madagascar Vanilla Bean? Yeah, that one. West Coast Dog, Madagascar Vanilla Bean. Kind of from Madagascar. Let's see what else we got. What are my preferred OGs? Triangle. Lupus Headband, which is probably an OG hybrid, but it's still very good. I love the Tokyo. And Josh D's cut. Dragon's Blood from Bodhi. I think it's from the Blood Sativa, Hawaiian Blood Sativa, but that's about all I know about the Dragon's Blood. Is that root beer by Mean Gene? Yes, it is. That is Mean Gene's root beer. It's pretty fucking rad. Gene did an amazing job on that line, man. It passes over black licorice, aniseed, terps. It's amazing. There you go, Hetero. See all that anger? Now it's on its way. Yeah, I'll leave this up to watch if Fletcher comes on. Is that a Daniel Cormier avatar? The 92 OG that is floating around is different from the Josh D cut that I have. And the Josh D cut I have came from Resin Long, who was a part of that grow with B-Real. So, yeah. There we go. Bringing in Mr. R. Fletcher. So all your questions, get ready to drop them.
Hey, what's going
up,
on?
Brother? You finally find a place to put it?
Kind of. I'm trying. Hold on a sec.
You look handsome as ever, dude.
I'm not very well set up for this social media shit.
I didn't figure. It's okay.
Yeah, so pre-98 Bubba, is that what people...
Yeah.
So in like 04, 05, I was on Cannabis World. And I got the green Bubba, the purple Bubba, both from Ken, Oregon Kid. And then I had Shawbud, who is 707 Seed Bank, his Bubba Kush cut. They were all called Bubba. Ken called the purple pheno, which was supposedly an S1 that some club owner in the valley made. It was really heavy yielding, made like club type nuggets with a rounded top.
Yeah.
The Katsu cut, as far as I know, and I can't remember specifically, but I'm pretty sure that was the cut that he sold to Katsu, right? And that was the green pheno. And then Shawbud, aka 707 Seed Bank, his Bubba cut was the pre-98. And so basically what happened is I had all three cuts. I needed to label them in my room so that I could tell the difference, or, so I could maintain mothers and know which one's which. And it just got the name pre-98 because Shaw had received the cutting in the winter of 97, 98. So at the time, it's like 2003, I'm like, well, it had to have been before 1998 because someone popped the seeds and has a clone by now already. Yeah. It's pre-98, right? That's how it got the name.
Makes sense.
And that was like 2004. And then it was like 3 or 4 years later that Swerve basically appropriated the name for selling seeds.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's pretty much all there is to it. It wasn't anything special. There wasn't anything crazy about it.
What was the difference between Shaw's and like the Katsu?
They all pretty much smell the same. The purple was like a little bit more purple smelling, but still the Bubba with the incense and the smell in the air, the same meaty smell. The Katsu, they would all turn purple depending on how you grew them, right? So they're all phenotypically variable based on environment. It was the green pheno was the Katsu, which it just tended to be green more often. But if you overferted it, didn't veg it very big, whatever, it'd put out little tiny buds. It'd turn purple at the end of flower with cold temperatures. Not any major difference. The pre-98 tended to be a little chunkier more often, but still the same characteristics as the other two cuts. It would still like basically what I call like big stem, small bud type shit, right? Where you've given it too much cow mag or it doesn't have a big enough root system for the size of pot it's in, whatever, right? If you veg, it just like most Bubbas, if you veg them out really big, they'll start actually producing pretty good.
That's fucking awesome. Dude, that was a lot of shit I didn't even know about Bubba. I'm glad you said that. People were asking about the face-off story. That would be fucking awesome to hear, like straight from the mouth.
So the real OG Cushman, the Source Genetics, Chris. Mm-hmm. Chris used to live up here in Seattle in 2000, and I think he lived up here from like 02 to 06. I met him in like 04, and he was growing the Poison OG at the time, which was his bag seed pheno from bags that he had purchased in SoCal. The face-off was, I think he had 12 seeds of face-off bag seeds. The face-off was never actually a clone that was being grown. It was just a moniker given to a certain batch of OG that went through the Inland Empire back in like 99 or something like that. I got 6 of the seeds. I think 4 or 5 of them popped, if I remember right. The face-off number 4 is the cutting that I have, right? I popped it from seed. Um, so that's the only real face-off, really. I mean, I think there's like 4 or 5 more seeds out there. Chris gave some to Cult Classic Seeds, but I don't think he ever popped them, and I'd be surprised if they even popped
Yeah, I
now,
don't think he
being
popped
20
them.
years old.
Yeah, I think he told
No,
me that.
and I think Chris might have a couple more seeds of it, but that's about it.
That's pretty awesome. So, like,
So I popped the seeds. It was the number 4 pheno, the number 1, 2, and 3. The number 1 was like it like the leaves turned purple. It had more of like a in between Bubba and Face Off kind of smell.
yeah,
The number 2 was like this really short sativa leaf looking thing, but it didn't stretch at all. It was almost like a dwarf plant, but it had really, really thin blades.
yeah,
The number 3 produced like much larger, bigger colas, was a little bit hermy, which was one of the main reasons I didn't keep it, and it pretty much smelled like your typical OG, maybe with like a little bit of a gummy bear funk.
oh wow,
And then the number 4, and that the number 3 and the number 1 kind of had that similar like gummy bear in between OG and Bubba kind of smell. The number 3 was more OG Dom. The number 1 was like, it wasn't really Bubba Dom, I would say, but it was just kind of I would call it blander, but you know, it wasn't anything particularly special. And then the number 4 was the it's that face off smell, like that really long lasting, lingering after flavor and real cushy flavor. And the main reason I kept it too was its potency. It's always potent. Like the first time I was smoking it, I rolled up a joint and was driving to town to pick up some hydro gear. This was like 2006, and I smoked it, and I started getting like lightheaded in the car, and I was like, all right, well, this thing's pretty potent probably. And anybody that knows me knows I smoke a lot of herbs, so I typically don't even comment on potency at all because I'm smoking 20 or 50 different strains
yeah.
a day, you know, between all the different kinds of hashes and whatever else. So
That's fascinating, dude. I'm sure people appreciated hearing all that. Now, I have a question, something that I'm interested in that I don't know a lot about other than probably Jason King's Canna Bible, dude. The Purple Indica.
yeah.
Becta told me it's the one clone that I don't know that I don't want.
Yeah,
What do you think?
it's super hard to work with. I mean, it's a really old strain from up here in the Northwest. Everybody that, like, if you were around in the late 80s, 90s, and 2000, early 2000s smoking weed up here,
Mm-hmm.
you bought purple weed and it smelled like the Purple Indica. It's like this really, really, it's not, I mean, it's pungent, but it's like, if you could think of what what purple smells like, the
Yeah.
color, this is everything that purple smells like. And hold on a second, I'm going to take a toke and then.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I got the cut in 2003. It was the very first cut that I got, basically.
Oh,
that it didn't come with a name either. So I got it from my friend who had gotten a medical card at the time, which was pretty hard to get. And he had gotten the cut from some Oregon growers. I had no idea what it was. I was growing some 97 Dutch Passion blueberry seeds at the time, and I also had some other blueberry seeds. I can't remember what they were. I think they were from Canada, one of the Canadian blueberry crosses. Like, yeah, one of those,
Yeah.
you know, I can't think of the company names, but, you know, shit out of Cannabis
Like
Culture
Pink
magazine.
Seeds type
basically.
shit?
Not like BC Seed Depot, but like Federation Seeds,
gotcha.
all those guys.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't remember who it was that had like the blueberry NL5, all that kind of stuff.
I remember Peak Seeds.
But those,
Do you ever try Peak Seeds?
I do remember Peak, but I think this was before Peak
Oh,
Seeds.
could have been.
I think this was God, I can't remember the name, but it'll come to me in a second. But basically, I was growing blueberry at the time, and when you cut up clones of the Purple Indica, it literally smells like berries, kind of, right? It had a very berry-ish smell right from the beginning, which is kind of that purple smell, too. And So I didn't know what it was, right? I just knew that like it kind of looked like the blueberry shit, so I kind of like was calling it blueberry for a second. I hadn't even flowered it yet, so I didn't even know. I was just like, I don't know, blueberry something or other. By the time I finished the cut, I knew that it was one of the purple strains from up here. So we had the UW Perp, Seattle Perps, Tacoma Perps, Ultraviolet. These were all basically the same phenos, or not the same phenos. They were either variations of the same variety or hybrids of the same variety, right? Gotcha. Which was basically the old purple from up here. And it was like pretty widespread. And we knew that there was multiple different cuts because you could basically like when you bought pounds of it, you'd get some bags that all smelled like the purple indica or like ultraviolet or whatever. But if you got the perps like from Tacoma, it'd have like big 20-gram colas in it, right? And whenever you grew like, or whenever you saw like ultraviolet nuggets, they didn't ever have big nuggets in it. It was always small little ounce bags of shit.
Yeah.
And when I grew out the blueberry or the unknown cut, basically I grew it a few times and I was like, there's no way that this is the Tacoma perp cutting. I don't know if it's the ultraviolet. I don't know if it's the UW perp. I don't really know what cut it is because I don't have anything to reference it by in terms of other cuts. So I called it purple indica.
Yeah.
That was how it got its name, right? So it became PI, right? And basically, you know, there never really was a purple indica up here as far as I know. It was just the perps. Wow. So, and it's just a really, really tiny, it's not tiny, it's not like a dwarf or anything, but it's a very tight internode Afghani plant. Pretty much anybody I know that's twice my age that's up here in Washington, they immediately can identify it as the old perp from up here. Kindness Cannabis, he's one of my buddies from back in the day. He remembers it really well too. And that's what the PI was. And it's lower potency, 15 to 18%, and pretty much whatever you cross it to, it reduces its potency.
Okay.
So
beautiful fucking plant though. God, I like this.
Yeah, and it's just hard to work with from the perspective of trying to trying to bring a new variety up to modern day standards. It's sometimes you cross stuff in and it like cookies, for example, you cross it into stuff and it makes it really frosty and purple, which is what the market likes. Yeah. You cross the PI and it makes it less frosty, dark purple, and not quite as potent. But the funny thing is the potency is so subjective nowadays. That like back then, the purple indica, we always called it shut up weed because anybody you load a bong toke or whatever for, they'd immediately just sit there and zone out. So even though it always tests significantly lower in potency than a lot of stuff, it definitely would ring some people's bells.
Sure, that makes sense, dude. You know, I've noticed a lot of these lower potency strains are coming around more now since concentrates are much more in use and available. It seems like they've got a renewed life in them.
Yeah, a little bit, but I mean, lower potency means lower yields as well, right? So I think a lot of people are just trying to get as much bang for their buck, especially from an economic perspective.
Oh, sure. So what are you working on now? I think that's what a lot of people would like to know about you. What are you working on now? You made fucking amazing shit. Do-si-do, that's yours. It's hard to top do-si-do.
I mean, it's all personal preference. I mean, I'm actually going to pop all my old seeds, everything from 10 or 15 years ago this next round. Right now I'm remaking all the stock, right, of stuff that's I've already gone through. And then I'm gonna go back to the drawing board. I'm tired of the shit I'm working on.
I can't wait to fucking see what you pull up from your collection. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, I mean, shit gets boring, you know, to me.
Yeah, I get it.
And that's why people are like, "Oh, someone else made your shit before you could." It's like, dude, I was working on trying to find something new, not remaking shit just because people are asking for it. So
Absolutely.
it's all personal preference, you know, and what your motivation is.
And it's all about, I mean, anybody can make your shit before you if they don't test it and release it, right? Like,
Yeah, of course, exactly. If you're not going to work it at all, I mean, you can make it as fast as someone can sell it.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
Yeah.
So, you know, Do-Si-Do took a while to make and remake because it's the OGKB is like a Type 4 Hermie. That thing Hermes every which way you can possibly get. So hybridizing into it, you've got to at least search through the population and look for lower instances of those traits.
Yep.
And anybody that's not or even doesn't even know about that obviously doesn't even probably grow their own fucking seeds. So
yeah, everybody's going to be fucking bombing you about Slurricane to hear the story. It's up to you if you want to tell it.
Oh, I mean, dude, I can't make Purple Punch cross with Do-Si-Do too? I don't get it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Especially if it's half your line in the thing.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, you know, if people are mad about the name or whatever, the funniest shit is they're the ones complaining about patents on plants, but want trademark rights for naming shit.
Yep.
It's, you know,
yep.
you can't have your cake and eat it too. You got to be one or the other because that's how patents and trademarks work.
Yep.
It's not. It's. I mean, you know, I think hypocrisy is a lot of people's motive. So whatever, it's fine. I mean, miseducation leads to it, and it's all right. It's what the world is nowadays.
Yeah, that's very true. What else you guys got for him? Any other questions that are fucking? You got him sitting here. Don't ask fucking lame ass shit.
Yeah, who wants to talk about Purple Punch anyways?
Exactly.
Like, seriously.
Let's talk about some fucking historical shit. Let's talk. You know what?
Yeah.
HP 13. The most common misinformation about it is that it's G13 hash plant. I think most people think that because they're fucking retards and haven't looked up anything. Can you tell us about your experience with HP 13? It's not something many people talk about.
So I got the cut, I think, from Caleb. I think he was the one that got it first. Mm-hmm. But I had seen it earlier. For example, like you were talking about Jason King's Cannabible earlier. So the Cannabible entry, that was my herb. The Trinity crossed with UW, that was herb that I had purchased that I showed to Jason King at the 2002 Seattle Hemp Fest. Mm-hmm. The dog shit that's in there, that was us. Not the Humboldt outdoor pictures, but the pictures of the indoor. That was my buddy Cannabis Reverend.
Yeah.
Through another glassblower friend of ours that grew it. That was the dog shit entry that was in there. The Purple Indica entry, that was mine. And then Scott Reach also reached out to Jason King and I think showed him pictures of it, but that cut came from me. I gave Scott that back in the day. Yeah. So the first time I saw HB 13 was in 2004. I went to stay with a friend of mine in Hana, right? And he was another dude that was on Cannabis World. And he invited me to come out to this party, right? Now, I won't tell too much about the party, even though they don't throw it anymore, but it was basically a weed gathering party. Another couple buddies of mine that currently live on Maui. And it was basically, it was deep in the fucking jungle. It was off grid, so there was no, I mean, they had power because it was like a multimillionaire's home that was this thing was getting thrown at. So they had refrigerators and all the nines, but it was actually an off-grid home. And, you know, they had like kava leaf blunts and fucking homemade kombucha and like homemade beer and all kinds of shit. And Jason King also happened to be there. That was the first time I saw Mendo Perps also.
Oh, wow.
That was like 2004, I believe. Yeah, it was 2004. And so HB 13, I'd heard about it. Everybody had talked about it. I saw some jungle-grown HB 13 that was grown deep in the jungle there. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was swag. It was like, but it was just poorly grown. I thought it had a really unique smell, but it had like no stickiness to the resin. The smell, I had to really mash it up because it was that outdoor shit.
Yeah.
And, but you could tell it had like a unique smell to it. And then I eventually got the cut from CSI Humboldt. And I think that was probably around 2007 or 8 was the first time I got it from him. And it was like, it's a weird plant. You know, it's pretty leafy, very columnar growth, just like goes straight up. Didn't branch very much, small yield, and definitely hermit on the bottoms.
Oh wow.
And that's where like the P or the fuck, what did they call it? The sour P, which
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
sour diesel
Sour
HP13 cross. That was all the same group of cats that did this Maui party
Yeah.
every year back then. And I still have some friends from those parties that live all over, and you know they remember the stuff. One of the most impressive examples that I remembered was the Jasmine Jack, which came out of Eugene. And that was it was real hazy smelling, but at the time, like in Seattle, hazy stuff was like where it was at. That's why the dog shit, the Malawi Northern Lights haze that I made, the NL Haze F2s, the pure Malawi Gold that we had, the Super Bill, all that shit was super. That was like what was popular. Like I remember when I first got OG up here from Chris, nobody even gave a fuck. People were like, dude, whatever. That's just some indica bullshit, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? They didn't even care. Couldn't get anything more for it. Nobody really even. It was pointless.
Yeah.
I just was growing it because I liked it. Right? It wasn't, you know, like in 03, 04, 05, OG wasn't really that popular or known outside of Los Angeles.
Yeah. That's funny.
So,
dude, I can't ever get anybody knowledgeable to comment on HP13, and it seems like everybody who grows it or has grown it has different opinions on whether it's worth keeping, whether it's worth growing. But that's pretty fascinating, dude, and I appreciate that.
yeah, the people that I know it came from, the people that Jason King saw it from originally, the people that put it in the Canna Bible, those dudes were from New York. It's from New York, right?
It is from New York, then, for sure.
That's my understanding. Like the farthest back that I have any experience with it, and the people that it came from, they had a New York connection, and that's where that cut came from.
Wow. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've always wondered because you always see it in New York and Maui. New York and Maui.
Yeah, that's why they had the Sour D out there too, right? At the same time, that was all the same group of people. And, you know, the scene was really small 15, 20 years ago, especially genetics scene back then, because most people, all they gave a shit about was just finding one good cut and running it till the wheels fall off.
Yeah.
That was like the deal. No one, it didn't really matter what the strain name was in those days because everything sold for great money.
Oh, sure, sure. I've seen them fucking growing in Maui, growing fucking plants and trees and shit. It's fucking gnarly out there.
Yeah, that was how that HP13 that I first saw was grown, and it was garbage,
awesome.
honestly. It was pretty much garbage. I mean,
That's
I would be nice about it, but
Yeah.
dude, drying shit in the jungle is impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I remember I would ship out a jar of weed. Like, I shipped out a jar of Albert Walker for that party in 2004, and literally as soon as I opened that jar at my buddy's house, the weed got wet.
Yeah.
You know, it was like cured perfectly and was like spongy with the crack. As soon as you open the jar, it turns into like jungle weed.
Yeah, just drain that humidity.
Yeah, it's like 98% humidity or 100% humidity. It's like raining basically. So as soon as you open the jar, it just takes it takes it all on.
Fucking A. Are you doing any more dog shit work? Someone wants to know.
I'm not doing any more DS work. It's just not popular enough. It's longer flowering. I'll play with it every once in a while. It's actually hard to hybridize. I saw Rich in here earlier also talking about his dog walker and the Scooby Snacks shit that people like to make a big deal out of.
Yeah.
And like Rich and I have mutual friends. I didn't do it as any intentional thing. I was living in LA at the time, had no idea that there was, I don't even know, this was 2012, so I don't even know if Rich had made it or sold or given it to people or whatever.
Yeah.
But literally I just made cookies crossed with fucking, cookies crossed with Face Off, and I called it Scooby Snacks, and honestly it didn't even really sell very well, and I had no idea until I moved back up to Seattle. And then started working with my buddy in Oregon, did I even know that there was a cut out there called Snoopy Stacks. So, I mean.
Is that what the dog walker cut's called? Scooby Snacks?
No, Scooby Snacks is dog walker and forum cookies.
Oh, okay.
Is my understanding.
Gotcha.
Right.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. I mean, if Rich is still in here, I'm sure he can he can tell everybody. But yeah, the Dog Walker, which is Albert Walker OG, I'm not sure who made that side of it. And then that hybridized with Chem 91 or Chem 4. I can't remember if Rich found out which one it is.
I think he ended up saying Chem 4 is what he was told.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it was supposed to be Chem 91, ended up being Chem 4. I personally prefer the flavor of Chem 4, so
yeah,
it makes even more sense why I like smoking Dog Walker.
Here's my favorite question. Are you going to breed any more land races?
I mean, why?
Are you going to breed a land race?
Yeah, I mean, why would I even try? I'm going to move to Antarctica and make the first Antarctic land race.
There you go. Fucking A. Gotta ask the fun ones.
Yeah.
What else you guys got? Are you tired yet, Fletch? You good?
Well, I mean, if this means I have to stop trying to answer this shit with my fingers, that would be helpful.
All right.
I mean, I've tried for, you know this, Matt.
Yeah.
I've tried for so many years to try to just keep the information correct, and it's just every year there's another guy that heard something about the Ocean Grown story from fucking Paradise Seeds mod John, the biggest fucking scammer ever, which Ken Oregon Kid could come on here and tell everybody about.
That's the same fucking dude. That's Kailua Kid,
Yeah.
TK1. That's him.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's all him. Every story he ever told was a lie. I got so many stories about that guy because he lived in Portland, and I fucking knew him personally.
Oh, did you?
Know?
Him and his
I knew him in real life.
Did his wife, Wendy, I want to say?
Man, that dude would, like, I don't even know if he had a wife, really. You know?
It was a chick on meth that used to fucking smoke meth with him. That's what I know.
Dude, he used to have, like stripper, hooker, whores and shit around all the time. Like, he had a whole... That dude was a problem, you know?
I made him cry once.
But he was how I ended up meeting Ken, though, right?
I believe that, yeah.
Because he was selling Ken's seeds at the time, right?
Yep. I believe that's where West Coast Dog came from as well. Is that correct?
Say it again?
West Coast Dog. Was that a John creation?
No, that came from Ken also.
Oh, West Coast Dog was a Ken one.
Yeah, West Coast Dog. So John used to basically find medical patients and get them to make seeds for him. He'd take the seeds and not pay him anything.
Of course, yeah.
So he had a couple buddies that were down here in I do know Ken, not Ken Westfall. That's not who we're talking about, but Ken Doe, who's the guy that's posting there. He's also in our circle of friends.
Kendo?
But not
Is you referring to Kendo?
Yeah, I know Kendo. Yeah, he's old school too. But this is someone was asking if it's Kendo that I'm talking about, and the answer is no. This is totally different shit.
Yeah.
And so John used to get these guys. One of the dude's name was Diamond, who's the guy that's responsible for the UW cut that's on the online. It's not UW, first of all.
That's good to know. There you go.
It was a nice hash plant, but it had no smell of any UW I ever bought buying pounds out of UW. There's many different strains that came out of UW, but none of them I ever saw was that one. So there's Diamond and his buddy Jim, right? And Ken remembers all these guys too. Yeah. And so Ken gave those dudes the cuts, and I got those cuts from them. And that was like the Sour OG, the Ogers, the cutting that ended up being called the Smelly It, all that shit.
I want to know personally about who named Banana OG. It was a cut of OGers, right? Or Ogers?
Ken named all that. Ken named and selected all that.
Okay.
He had gotten Sagarmartha's 60/40 seeds as freebies with shit that he had ordered from Gypsy Nirvana.
Gotcha.
And he liked that and crossed it into the OG, and that's Banana OG. It was freebie packs from Gypsy. It was just bulk, like basically Skunk #1 hybrids, because that's what I mean. I think Sam the Skunk Man was selling like millions of Skunk 1 hybrids back in those days to all the seed distributor guys.
Yep.
And they would all just like package it up and give it away as freebies or whatever it was, you know. It was just that, you know, it was that crossed with Ogers, and then Ken grew it.
So it was probably one of Sam's Skunk One hybrids as the 6040, you think?
Based on the smell and like the way the plant grows, the fact that it washes well, all
Yeah.
that stuff, leads me to believe that it's probably some skunk number one cross, just like pretty much everything else that I've grown from that era from Amsterdam.
Our buddy Nick Vitus is asking about NorCal Catbiss. That's a Shawbud one, right? Did it come?
Yeah, that's Shawbud's a high school weed from the early '90s.
That's fucking awesome.
And then the SoCal Catpiss is a cut that I got from this dude that used to go by the name Philly. He used to run a lot of weight up here. There's a lot of local people up in Seattle that will know who I'm talking about if they were around back then. And he brought me those cut. I did a bunch of work for him. And I actually heard that he was at the Glass show like last year down in Vegas. It was like a random connection. I might be actually have his phone number. I meant to hit him up, but I haven't talked to the guy in a long time, and he had some issues. Let's just put it that way with the law. So and I was always really paranoid. So but him and Philly and I have some funny stories, just like of shit that happened. Like I borrowed money from him to get started in my first spot.
Yeah.
When I bought my own first, I had those Omega gardens that spin around the bulb and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had borrowed some money from him to get going on that, right? And I ended up with like 3 of those things.
That's awesome. Fucking Omega gardens.
Yeah, but so anyways, I did like some work for them and moved some stuff and did whatever, and they brought me a couple big mother plants straight from San Diego of that cut, right? And I remember just like cutting up like 3. There was 2. Still to this day probably haven't seen plants this healthy. They were just like 6-inch Rockwell blocks with mats of roots that were like 3 feet long, right?
Yeah.
Like they were doing that where you cover with panda film over top of the tray.
Yeah.
And man, it was just like perfect white roots. These things had just been in the back seat, and I probably took like 350 cuts off of those 2 plants. They were like covered in clones. And anybody that's grown that San Diego Catpiss cut, will know how branchy that thing is.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it puts off cuts like crazy. Anyways, that's how I got that cut.
That's a legendary strain in San Diego, along with the Hog's Breath P91 and the Bull Rider. Do you ever come across the original Bull Rider?
I never saw any of those other ones, man. I only ever saw the Catpiss, right?
Yeah.
And it was like 04 that I got the Catpiss from Philly.
Yeah.
And Cannabis Reverend, the guy, my dog shit buddy, and our other buddy, I don't know if he wants to be called. So I'll ask him in the future if he wants everybody to know who brought our crew the dog shit. Mm-hmm. But there's also the farthest back that I know that the dog shit goes is my buddy down in Portland that owns 50 Trees, right? They got it in '94, and supposedly it came from like Michigan, I think. Oh, wow. Michigan or Minnesota. And it was originally called Electric Boogaloo or something like that. That's what I heard,
Electric Boogaloo. That's right. Yeah.
Right. That's a story that my buddy that owns 50 Trees, those group of stores down in Portland, they were the first ones that got that cut. That I know of, and that's where they say it came from. And
your thoughts on Trinity?
I only ever bought the herb from Eugene. Okay. I didn't ever see I didn't ever see the cut or know anybody that had the cut directly. All I ever remember about it was that it had like I saw a couple different phenos of it, so who knows what the fuck I actually saw, right? But all of them were like very burnt rubber smelling. They weren't like skunk; they were like burnt rubber.
Okay.
Like that burnt rubber, cushy Afghani smell. I don't remember them tasting it. It was really well grown, but I don't remember it tasting better than it smelled. I remember it being the opposite. It's smelling really good and not really having a ton of flavor.
The Trinity cut that I've been smoking that came through like that Not So Dog and those guys have, and Caleb. That one kind of tastes to me like the old Elvis cut, which is real interesting. I'm not sure if it is the old Trinity or not, but they're saying it is.
I haven't seen it, so I really don't know. like I said, the Trinity that I remember, all of them smelled like straight burnt rubber Afghani funk, and
Yeah.
it was pretty strong smelling. But there was no sweetness at all to it.
No.
There was
Yeah.
no fruitiness. There was no like off smell. It was just basically burnt rubber.
I think if people confuse that anything that's not sweet but that's funky with skunk, I've been seeing that a lot lately. Anything that's not fruity, they call skunk. But
I think it also has to do with like I know when I've stopped smoking for periods of months and
Mhm.
stuff, everything smells way skunkier.
Yeah. Yep.
Like OG smells like skunk. Ken's Sour Kush, that thing was fucking super skunky. I mean, like if you think GMO has that bad breath, whatever
Yeah.
smell,
Halitosis.
ask about the original Sour Kush cut that Oregon Kid Ken put out there. That thing was fucking ridiculous, right? I mean,
Yeah.
comparatively, it shits on GMO in terms of that
Wow.
raw halitosis OG funk, right?
Yeah. That shit
Which
was.
is totally different than the burnt rubber. I don't know. I
Yeah, it
mean,
is. It is. It is.
it's just experience. I think you have to have seen it to know the difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's everything. Let's see what we got. Blue Dot.
707 Seed Bank, he knows more about that than anybody. I mean, that was like a club cut that used to go through the third floor at Oakland. That's all I remember about it. Um, I've seen some Blue Dot over the years, but whether or not it was like the Blue Dot that everybody talks about, I have no clue. Right, the one that I saw wasn't that impressive, so it leads me to believe that either people were smoking BAM or weed, or I saw the wrong shit.
You never know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been fooled before, so
Yeah, I think all of us have at some point. You got
yeah, where someone said something's really awesome, and then you see it, and you're just kind of like, oh, never mind.
Yeah. Let's see. What else you guys got? The Maui Pog. You familiar with it?
I don't know anything about the Pog.
Yeah, it's a HP 13. I want to say the Maui Dog or whatever it is. That's all I know about it.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard like a bunch of different stuff, but I've never really seen enough about it. The Oregon Pineapple, someone said.
Mhm.
I don't remember a whole lot. I just remember buying that herb. I remember seeing the Pineapple DS. I remember it reminding me of the Hawaiian Indica shit that was going around.
Yeah.
And that's what it rumored to be. And I think that, that Hawaiian Indica line was like pretty popular there for a few years.
What? Here's a good one, and we can end with this. This thing's almost over. What project are you most proud of? Like looking back on what you've done to this point, what are you most proud of?
Oh, man, I'm just one cog in the wheel. Like, I just was preserving genetics because I thought it was important. And at the time, um, a lot of other people were getting rid of everything because it was starting to become like a marketing game, right? It used to be you could grow dog shit and it'd still sell. In fact, it was the most in-demand product.
Yeah.
10 years later, it was the opposite, right? Nobody wanted the long flowering sativas. People didn't like smoking them anymore. It had become more of a marketing type of cannabis market than it was before, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm just happy that I was in the right place at the right time, was able to get a lot of these really good cuts and kind of put them all in one place and make sure that they stuck around. I mean, that's it.
One more quick one. Your collab, the tie with Casas.
Yeah, that was Chris's brother's cut. He lived in Portland. Chris gave me that cut when he moved back, or actually I think I got it from his buddy up here a couple years after he had moved back to LA, something like that. And I had seeded it up with the face off. I had never sold seeds of it.
Yeah.
But I made seeds with it. I have Albert Walker Albert Walker Manic crossed with that tie also.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave Chris a handful of those seeds, and he's going to work it, just partly in homage to his brother. That tie was really interesting. It was like bubble gum and burnt onion, or not burnt onion, but like a really strong cutting onion smell, and bubble gum and like a little bit of the super silver haze.
Yeah.
Hazy back end, but not really like. When you smell it, you don't think haze. It's mostly that like a tropical cut onion uh, type of smell.
So it's pretty unique then.
Oh, it's super unique, and it was stunk. And I mean, it did like the classic little bananas all up the calyxes,
Yeah.
up the on the top colas when it finished up, just like the Millie too.
Yep. Well, hey, dude, we actually did this. Thank you so much for coming on and like educating everyone. And next time, hopefully, there's a next time we could talk about like Albert Walker and shit. I know a lot of people want that. So, but I
Yep.
appreciate it and thank you so much. And thanks for everyone for asking awesome questions too.
Cool. Later.
Thanks, Fletch. Late. All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. That was fucking pretty epic. That was a lot of info he packed on, and he's good at answering questions. I've never seen anyone else be able to answer questions at rapid fire like that. It's not fucking easy, and I know he doesn't often do that, so much appreciated. I'll leave this one up. I know a lot of people want me to leave it up so that they can see all this shit and go back and watch it. I think for history's sake, let's leave it up. So, yeah, watch it, rewatch it, learn this shit, memorize it. That's how you learn, you know. So, cheers, guys.